Why is it that you make over $90,000 a year, but your checking account is always screaming for mercy by the 25th of the month? I guarantee this has happened to you. You get your direct deposit. You feel rich for exactly 48 hours. Then the auto pays hit. The utility bills, the car payment, the insurance, and suddenly you are doing mental math at the grocery store to see if you can afford the premium coffee. Let me step into your shoes for a second. I know the exhaustion of the morning commute, sitting on Interstate 95 for an hour, staring at the endless red taillights in front of me, swiping a plastic badge at the office door, sitting under buzzing fluorescent lights just to pay for a house that remains completely empty for 10 hours a day. That is not an accident. That is the exact business model they designed for you. Meet David and Christine. They did everything society told them was right. They went to college and took out student loans. They got stable corporate jobs. They skipped vacations and saved for 4 brutal years to put a down payment on a beautiful home in the suburbs. They sat at a large mahogany table and signed a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage. The mortgage broker smiled, handed them a branded pen, and told them they were finally real homeowners. They posted a picture on social media, standing on the front porch holding the keys. Hundreds of likes from friends and family. But let us do the brutal math on this situation. Let us convert that house into hours of human life. David brings home around $5,000 a month after taxes and his health insurance premiums. His mortgage, property taxes, and home insurance cost $2,800. David makes roughly $35 an hour. That means David has to work 80 hours every single month just to pay for the right to sleep under that roof. That is 2 entire weeks of his life. 80 hours of dealing with a manager he simply tolerates. 80 hours of stressful afternoon Zoom meetings. 80 hours of his finite time on Earth, just to pay for a stack of papers he signed in a conference room. If that number just hit you like a punch in the stomach, subscribe right now. Here we do not talk about miracle investments or magic internet money. We talk about stopping the massive fraud you are committing against your own future. You see, the bank manager who approved your loan is not your friend. He is a salesman pushing a financial product. And he sold David and Christine the most brilliant, most expensive subscription service in the modern world. They call it the American dream. I call it the debt anchor. Look closely at the first 10 years of a 30-year mortgage. You think you are buying a house every month. You are not. You are paying the bank's profit up front. Look at an amortization schedule. In the first 5 years, almost everything you send them goes straight to interest. You are essentially just renting the money from Wall Street. And for the privilege of renting their money, you get to pay to fix the broken water heater yourself. This is what I call the illusion of the front yard. You mow the grass on Sunday mornings. You paint the living room walls a nice shade of gray, but miss 3 payments, and watch how quickly the real owner shows up with the sheriff to change your locks. And it gets much worse when you look at how the system punishes people who are just starting out. Have you ever heard of the Sam Vimes boots theory? It explains perfectly why being broke is the most expensive thing you can be in this country. If you have $500,000 in cash, you buy the house outright. No interest, no extra fees. But if you are like David and only have a small down payment, the system charges you a poverty premium. Because he could not put 20% down, the bank forces him to pay private mortgage insurance. A monthly fee that exclusively protects the bank, but David has to pay for it out of his own pocket. He is literally paying an extra penalty fee because he is not rich enough. Then we add the silent thief of inflation. Everything from the cost of roof shingles to the winter electric bill keeps going up. Then, the Homeowners Association sends a polite letter saying the neighborhood maintenance fees are increasing by 15%. And the county decides your property value went up, so your property taxes skyrocket. Your salary does not go up by 15%. Your budget just gets squeezed tighter and tighter every single year. If you are getting angry at this math, leave a like on this video. Anger is a very good thing. Anger is the very first step toward building real financial efficiency. Let us look at it from the outside as a forensic analyst for a moment. The system absolutely needs you in heavy debt. A worker with a 30-year mortgage, maxed out credit cards, and 2 car payments is a highly compliant worker. They will not quit their job. They will not take entrepreneurial risks. They will swallow the corporate nonsense because they have a massive auto draft looming over their checking account on the first of the month. The mortgage is not just a standard loan, it is a behavior modification tool. They sold you a house to make sure you keep driving in that highway traffic every single day. Christine always wanted to start a small bakery. She had the talent and the passion for it. But she looked at the mortgage statement and realized she could not afford to take a pay cut for even 6 months. So she stays at the logistics company she absolutely despises. Her dream died right there on the granite kitchen island they financed. The bank does not just own the drywall, the windows, and the plumbing. The bank owns Christine's potential. And the marketing machine works overtime to keep you completely blinded to this reality. They constantly tell you that renting is throwing money away. Is paying $2,000 a month in pure interest to a mega bank not throwing money away? Is paying $10,000 in property taxes every single year not throwing money away? Is paying an emergency plumber $500 on a Sunday morning an investment? They convinced you that buying a massive liability is somehow building wealth. They rebranded a heavy financial burden as the ultimate milestone of success. You spend your whole life optimizing a 3-digit credit score. You check it on your phone like it is a report card for adulthood. But what is a credit score really? It is just a metric of how profitable you are to corporate lenders. David felt so proud of his 780 credit score. He thought it meant he was winning the financial game. It just meant he was the perfect low-risk customer to trap in a 30-year financial contract. While David is putting 5% of his paycheck into a 401k, hoping he can finally rest at 65, the interest on his house is eating up 30% of his current income. He is completely funding his own financial stagnation. We need to break this cultural conditioning right now. I want you to do a practical task today. Log into your mortgage account or look at the loan documents for the house you are planning to buy. Find the document called the amortization schedule. Look exactly at how much of your monthly payment goes to the actual principal balance and how much is pure interest going to the bank. Calculate how many hours of your life you have to work this month just to pay that interest alone. The result will completely terrify you. If this video finally opened your eyes to the game they are playing with your life, send it to that coworker who is always exhausted. Send it to the friend who thinks their house is their biggest financial asset. We need to get out of this hamster wheel together. Type "I understand the game" to signal to the algorithm that you woke up. Look at 2 identical houses in an ordinary suburb outside of Dallas. In the house on the left lives Michael. In the house on the right lives David. Both men make exactly $80,000 a year. Both men drive the same brutal hour-long commute on Interstate 35. But David thinks he is a proud homeowner building generational wealth. Michael knows he is just renting money from the bank at a terrible price. Let us look at the paperwork David signed 5 years ago. He sat across from a loan officer named Sarah. Sarah had a great smile and handed him a glossy folder. She congratulated him on buying his first home and handed him a branded pen to sign the documents. But Sarah did not sell him a house. Sarah sold him a highly engineered financial product designed to extract his future labor. David bought a house for $400,000. He put down 20%. He financed $320,000 over 30 years. At a standard interest rate, David is not paying $300,000 for that house. Over 30 years, David will pay more than $350,000 just in pure interest. Let us translate that into the only currency that actually matters: your time. David makes roughly $38 an hour. His monthly mortgage payment is about $2,800. In the first few years of his loan, almost $2,000 of that payment goes straight to interest. That means David has to work 52 hours every single month just to pay the interest on his loan. 52 hours of his life? Gone. That is more than an entire work week completely wiped out just to service the debt. Over the life of the loan, he will work over 9,000 hours strictly to pay the bank. That is nearly 5 full years of clocking in at a job he barely tolerates. 5 years of waking up in the dark. 5 years of sitting in bumper-to-bumper traffic. 5 years of missing his kids growing up. All of that time goes straight to the bank before he even owns one extra brick of his own house. If this number just punched you in the stomach, subscribe right now. Here, we do not talk about miracle stock picks or overnight crypto schemes. Here we talk about stopping the financial fraud you are committing against your own life. This system is what I call the front-loaded fraud. Look at your mortgage statement right now. In the first 10 years, almost everything you pay goes straight to the bank's profit sheet. They take their money up front while you take all the physical and financial risk. If the water heater breaks, you pay for it. If the county decides to raise your property taxes, you pay for it. If the roof leaks after a bad storm, the bank does not care. You are entirely responsible for the expensive maintenance of an asset the bank effectively owns. This is the poverty premium perfectly disguised as the American dream. Your parents and your friends tell you that renting is throwing money away, but somehow, paying $2,000 a month in pure, unrecoverable mortgage interest is considered a genius investment. It makes absolutely no mathematical sense. If you got angry at this calculation, leave a like on this video. Anger is the very first step toward financial efficiency. I want you to imagine the reality of this system from the inside. I drove down the 405 freeway in Los Angeles this morning. I looked at the lanes beside me and saw thousands of tired faces gripping their steering wheels. Every single one of them was rushing to a cubicle to pay for a house they leave empty for 10 hours a day. We work ourselves into absolute exhaustion to pay the bank for the privilege of storing our beds. And the craziest part of this entire setup is that we celebrate it. We throw housewarming parties to celebrate the exact day we signed 30 years of our freedom away. This is the core mechanic of the Sam Vimes theory of unfair economics applied to real estate. People with massive amounts of cash buy properties outright and immediately generate positive cash flow. People without cash finance properties and immediately generate income for someone else. You are the product in this transaction. Your 30-year mortgage is packaged, sold, and traded on Wall Street before you even get the keys to the front door. Your personal debt is their corporate asset. Your daily stress is their quarterly dividend. Let us talk about Christine. Christine works in human resources for a logistics company in Chicago. She takes home roughly $5,000 a month after taxes and deductions. Her mortgage payment is $2,500. Half of her waking life physically belongs to a massive banking conglomerate. She skips lunches with her coworkers to save $20. She argues with her husband over a $50 grocery bill at the supermarket. But she blindly hands over $2,000 in interest every 30 days without even blinking. Why do we do this to ourselves? Because the marketing of home ownership is the most successful psychological operation in modern history. They convinced you that signing a piece of paper that legally binds you to 30 years of mandatory labor is a status symbol. They gave you a credit score to make you feel like you are winning a video game, but your credit score is just a grade on how profitable you are to the financial industry. A perfect score does not mean you are rich or financially independent. It simply means you are the perfect, reliable customer for taking on debt. I guarantee this exact scenario has happened to you or someone you know. You finally get a promotion and a raise at work. You think you finally have some breathing room in your budget. But then your local property taxes are randomly reassessed. Your homeowner association fees go up because they want to paint the neighborhood clubhouse. Your home insurance premium doubles because of a hurricane that happened 3 states away. That hard-earned raise vanishes right into the walls of the house. You are completely back to square one, swiping your corporate badge at 8 in the morning just to survive. This is the invisible 20% rule. Whatever you think your house costs on paper, add 20% in phantom expenses you never actually budgeted for. Maintenance, special assessments, taxes, insurance, and the sheer amount of time spent fixing broken things. Time is the ultimate casualty in this equation. You are trading irreplaceable hours of your finite life for drywall, granite countertops, and interest payments. Do not misunderstand me here. Owning real estate can be a powerful tool if you understand the actual math behind the transaction. But buying a house just because society told you it is the next logical step in life is a massive trap. It is a trap designed by people who profit heavily off your lack of financial literacy. Your friendly neighborhood realtor gets a fat commission. The smiling loan officer gets a performance bonus. The title company gets a processing cut. The home appraiser gets a flat fee. Everybody gets paid on closing day except you. You just get a massive bill and a generic congratulatory email. We need to completely redefine what an asset actually is. An asset is something that puts money in your pocket without requiring your constant physical labor. A liability is something that takes money out of your pocket every single month without fail. For the first 15 years of your loan, your primary residence is nothing but a giant, hungry liability. It heavily demands your paycheck. It demands your weekends for yard work and repairs. It aggressively demands your mental peace. And if you happen to miss 3 payments because you lost your job, the bank will quickly remind you who really owns the property. The eviction notice pinned to your door will not care about the custom kitchen cabinets you installed last summer. The legal foreclosure process will not care about the precious memories you made in the living room. They will simply take the house back, ruin your credit file, and sell it to the next tired commuter who wants the American dream. This is the cold, hard reality of the paper you signed. Today, I want you to sit down at your kitchen table. Pull up your last 3 bank statements on your laptop. Look closely at the money leaving your account just to pay for the privilege of going to work. Look at the pure mortgage interest. Look at the car payment for the vehicle you only use to sit in traffic and get to the office. Look at the gas, the car insurance, the professional clothes, and the expensive lunches you buy because you are too tired to cook. Calculate how much of your gross salary actually belongs to you at the end of the month. The final number will terrify you. You are likely living on 20 cents of every single dollar you earn. The rest goes directly to maintaining the expensive infrastructure required for you to just be a good employee. If this video opened your eyes today, send it to that coworker who is always exhausted and complaining about bills. Send it to the friend who is desperately trying to outbid cash buyers for a tiny starter home. We have to step out of this financial hamster wheel together. You are not a machine built to generate compound interest for a banking institution. You are a human being who deserves to keep the actual value of your own time. Type "I am the architect" in the comments to signal that you have taken back control of your reality. Let us look at why a smart guy like David is completely broke. David is 34 years old. He works in middle management, makes about $90,000 a year, and drives a decent Honda Accord. 5 years ago, he popped champagne with his wife. They had just closed on a beautiful $400,000 house in the suburbs. They posted the picture on Instagram holding the keys. Everybody typed congratulations in the comments. David thought he had finally made it. He thought he was building wealth. But let us do an autopsy on David's financial mistake. I want you to look closely at that paper he signed at the closing table. The nice guy at the bank, wearing a crisp blue suit, handed him a pen and smiled. That bank manager did not sell David a house. He sold 30 years of David's future labor to Wall Street. He convinced David to rent his own life. Let us look at the brutal math behind the American dream. David put down $80,000. He financed $320,000 on a standard 30-year fixed mortgage at 7%. He pays about $2,100 a month just for the principal and interest. David thinks he is buying a house. But for the first 10 years, almost all of that money goes straight into the bank's pocket. Look at his very first payment. Out of that $2,100, about $1,860 goes to interest. Only $240 actually goes to paying off his house. The bank takes 90% of his effort right off the top. This is what I call the front-loaded interest fraud. Now let us convert those dollars into hours of David's actual life. David makes about $45 an hour before taxes. After the government takes its cut, he brings home maybe $32 an hour. To pay just the interest portion of his first mortgage payment, David has to work 58 hours. 58 hours every single month. That is a week and a half of his life. He spends a week and a half dealing with office politics, answering passive-aggressive emails, and sitting in pointless Zoom meetings, just to pay the bank for the privilege of sleeping in a house he supposedly owns. If that number punched you in the stomach, subscribe to this channel. Here we do not talk about miracle investments or overnight riches. We talk about stopping the financial fraud you are committing against yourself every single day. I know exactly how David feels. I wake up at 6 in the morning, my phone alarm drilling into my head. I swallow some cheap coffee and get onto the 405 freeway. I sit in bumper-to-bumper traffic for an hour, staring at red tail lights. My back hurts, my patience is gone, and I'm already exhausted before I even swipe my badge at work. I hustle all day just to keep a roof over my head, a roof that I only really get to see in the dark when I'm too tired to enjoy it. This is the reality of the middle-class trap. And it gets worse when you understand how expensive it is to not have money. You probably know the Sam Vimes Boots theory. It basically says that being poor actually costs you more money in the long run. The poverty premium is everywhere, and mortgages are the biggest example. A rich investor buys that exact same $400,000 house in cash. He pays exactly $400,000. David did not have the cash, so he had to ask the bank for permission to live. By the time David pays off that 30-year loan, he will have paid $446,000 just in interest. His $400,000 house actually cost him almost $850,000. The rich guy pays base price. David pays more than double. He pays a 100% penalty just for being a regular worker. If you are angry about this calculation, hit the like button right now. Anger is the first step toward efficiency. You have to get mad to wake up. The illusion of home ownership is designed to keep you stressed, working, and compliant. Because the bank is not the only villain in this story. You also have to deal with the silent inflation of local government. Property taxes sneak up every single year. Your house gets reassessed, and suddenly you owe the county another $100 a month. Then you have the Homeowners Association. The HOA charges you $300 a month to tell you what color you can paint your own front door. Then there is homeowners insurance, which goes up every time there is a storm 3 states away. And do not forget the maintenance. When the water heater blows up on a Sunday morning, you cannot call a landlord. You have to pull out your credit card and go into debt just to take a hot shower. This is what they call the American dream. It is a marketing campaign designed by the financial industry to lock you into a 30-year labor contract. They want you terrified of losing your job. A guy with a 30-year mortgage and a car loan does not talk back to his boss. He does not take risky entrepreneurial leaps. He stays in his cubicle and types quietly, because he knows the first of the month is always coming. He is trapped in the renting your own life protocol. You think you bought real estate, but you actually just signed a lease where the bank is the landlord, and you are responsible for all the repairs. We are taught to worship the credit score. They tell you a high credit score is a badge of honor. It is not. Your credit score is just an obedience metric. It measures how profitable you are to the banking system. It shows how good you are at borrowing money and paying it back with a slice of your actual time attached. They gamified your debt. They made you proud of your chains. Look at the money vanishing from your account on payday. Before you even buy groceries, the mortgage takes a massive bite. Then the property taxes take a bite. Then the insurance takes a bite. You are left with crumbs, trying to figure out why a 6-figure salary feels like minimum wage. This is exactly how they want you. Tired, stressed, and totally dependent on your next paycheck. Because if you had free time, you might start asking the right questions. You might start wondering why Wall Street bankers get bailouts while you get late fees. I guarantee this scenario has crossed your mind. You sit on your couch on a Sunday night, feeling that familiar dread in your chest. The weekend is over, and you have to go back to the grind. You look around your living room and ask yourself if it is really worth it. You are trading the best years of your life for sheetrock and a 2-car garage. But you do not have to play their game. You can stop being the fuel for their profit margins. You need to understand the math before you sign your life away. Today, I want you to do a simple task. Go pull up your most recent mortgage statement or loan document. Look past the total amount due. Find the exact breakdown between principal and interest. Calculate how many hours you worked this month just to cover the interest alone. The result will completely shock you. You will see exactly how much of your life is being taken by the financial sector. If this video opened your eyes, send it to that colleague who lives exhausted. Send it to the friend who is desperately trying to outbid cash buyers for a tiny starter home. Let us break out of this financial hamster wheel together. Type "I understand the game" in the comments to signal to the algorithm that you have awakened.